Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
All right, we have breaking Eagles news for Football at 4. A trade has happened. The Eagles are moving up in the draft. Geoff Mosher's face is looking like, wait, is this real news? It is not ball sack sports here, Geoff Mosher. This is real news. The Eagles are trading pick number 16 and 19 and a 6th-round pick to the Saints for number 18 overall, a 3rd round and a 7th round pick, and a 1st round pick and a 2nd round pick next year. The Eagles have added a 1st round pick in 2023 and a 2nd round pick in 2023. So they will have number 15 and number 8. Actually, yeah, they will have 15 and 18 now. Geoff Mosher, welcome. I think we lost Geoff Mosher. Did he just bail out on me here? What happened? I'm not lying. This is not April Fool's. This is the real deal, man. Adam Schefter reporting this as we speak. I mean, literally, this just happened here. The Eagles are sending picks 16, 19, and 194 in exchange for 18, 101, and then a 1st round and a 2nd round pick next year. So the Eagles now go from 3 1st-round picks to 2 1st-round picks. Are you with me, Geoff Mosher? I mean, this is the perfect time to have you on the show. You can't crap out on me now. We completely lost him. I mean, I feel like he's there. I don't know what's happening. I mean, he just left the stream. All right, so we'll see if we can't get him back on in some capacity. So the Eagles make a trade. Here he comes. There he is. I feel like you thought I was April Foolsing you.
Mike, only now when everything happens can just all Hades break loose there. And then my computer goes out and you literally, I didn't even see anything about the trade until you brought me on.
As the opener was coming on, Josh pointed at the TV screen. I turned around and I saw it.
So, all right. So the Eagles mainly are trading 2 of their 3 1st-round picks, and what they're getting is a future 1st-rounder from the Saints, right, next year, and then also in 2 years they get a 2nd-round pick. So, first of all,
okay, I'll give you the whole thing. The Eagles will get.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So they're giving the Saints 16 and 19 and a 6th-rounder.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting back the Saints 18. So they still have 2 picks, 15 and 18.
Okay, right.
They're getting the Saints' 18th pick. They're also getting another 3rd and a 7th, and then a 1st-rounder next year and a 2nd-rounder in 2024.
All right. Well, this goes to show what we've said for quite a while, that we expect Howie to be very aggressive with these 1st-round picks. I've said, and I still believe, that it'd be shocking to me if they wind up making 3 1st-round picks. And now, if I have this correct, they only have 2. They have 15
have 2
and 18,
this year,
right?
15 and 18, and now 2 next year.
Correct. So they're only going to make, as of right now, 2 1st-round picks. And by the way, they still have plenty of ammunition to package those if they want to and move up. But they've obviously loaded themselves up for next year and the year down the road. And that's pretty clear to me. I mean, that's a lot of that is quarterback related. You know, I mean, they can talk about being fully committed to Jalen Hurts, but all of their offseason moves, you know, have suggested that they've certainly dipped their toe into the water of trying to get, or at least get a seat at the table with guys like Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, which they were denied. And now what they're doing is trying to get themselves as much ammunition next year, because this is just not a strong quarterback class this year.
Right. So just to kind of break it down for the people out there, the Eagles give up 16 and 19, but they get back 18. So they would still be in play for a lot of the guys that they had some interest in anyway. They didn't move up to go get someone. They just moved up a spot, gave up 2 this year to get an extra 1 next year.
Correct. And, you know, the Saints are a team that, you know, that's a 1st-round pick next year that might look a little bit more attractive, because the Saints are a team that is also, you know, looking for a quarterback itself. They lost their head coach, who was one of the best in the league, and Sean Payton, because he retired. So They're kind of an organization in flux. They have some cap situations that they got to work out. So they were just a 7-9 team this past year, or maybe 8. I forget what it was that they were, but they were not very good. And there's a chance that their pick next year will probably be a decent pick.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, now they have 2 picks next year as well, which gives them the possibility, if they feel like Hurts, they give it another full year to evaluate him, and if they feel that he's not the guy, now they have 2 first-round picks, and they can try to do what they want to do next year, package those 2 picks. If there's a quarterback that they really like, you could take your 2 first-round picks and then try to move up. In this draft, I feel like it's obvious that they don't feel – I don't want to say it's obvious, but it seems like this isn't a year they want a quarterback in the draft. So let's get 2 guys that we like, and we'll take 2 guys next year, 2 picks next year. I think the interesting part here, too, is, Most, that they get an extra 3rd-round pick in this year's draft, which means now, I think this morning I was reading, they have 6 picks in the first 4 rounds. They traded 2 away, but they got a 3rd back. They still keep 6 picks in those first 4 rounds of the draft.
Part of it, if that is a big part of it, Mike. They make moves that help them for the future, but don't necessarily knock them out of doing something they want to do in this year's draft as well. So as you're mentioning, they still have a decent amount of picks here to work with this year, where they can still satisfy the other part of the equation, which is, the other part of the equation is starting to build the team up around whoever the quarterback is for the future. And so now they still have a lot of ammunition to continue to be able to do that.
Right. So you get the extra 3rd-round pick, and those are the kind of picks where, the team has kind of adds those, they need a corner, they need a safety, they need a wide out probably. I don't know if they're going to go linebacker, but the 3rd round was a spot where you might take a linebacker now. So you add that extra 3rd-round pick to get those areas. We don't want to take a safety in the 1st round or a linebacker in the 1st round. We're more inclined to take those guys, so we'll add another 3rd-round pick.
Yeah. And it's funny because Adam Kaplan and I were having that argument on the podcast that dropped this morning, where I almost feel like they have to do something at linebacker earlier than usual, which, I don't mean 1st round. I mean like 2nd or 3rd round.
Christian Harris.
And Adam said, and Adam says, and I should probably listen to Adam because he's probably the one that's got the better perspective on this. He says, they sign Kazir White. They don't play that many off-the-ball linebackers. That's what we're talking about here, off-ball linebackers, stack ones. They don't play that many. They like to get into different dime formations with safeties. So it's more likely they would draft a safety in the 3rd round or in the 2nd round than a linebacker. And he's probably right. I would just hope that they went by the best player available on their board. And if it happens to be a linebacker, then take that guy, because this is going to be a good draft where you're going to see some pretty decent linebackers and safeties in the 2nd and 3rd rounds.
All right, so just if you're listening, again, it's breaking news for us, too. We literally opened the segment, Football at 4. It's powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by PropSwap, America's sports betting marketplace. Sell your sports bets, take your profit, find out how. Go to PropSwap.com or download the PropSwap app today. The Eagles have traded pick 16, pick 19, and 194, which is a 6th-rounder. And in return, they get 5 picks. Pick 18, pick 101 in the 3rd round, an extra 7th-rounder, and then a 1st-round pick next year and a 2nd-round pick in 2024. So they have really added a lot of extra picks here. They keep 2 picks in the 1st round. They get the extra 3rd round. But as we say, I think that key is that they get the extra pick in next year's draft. And that's something that we all kind of thought was a good possibility.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, I just checked, because this is now becoming kind of commonplace for the Eagles, right? I just checked on the date of last year's trade with Miami that got them when they went from what? They went down, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't they go from like 5 to 12 originally before they wound up trading back up for Devontae Smith? That trade was consummated on March 26th. So this is a little bit later than that one. But clearly this is something that the Eagles, going back to Carson Wentz when they went from 13 to 6 to 1 on that one. This is kind of the ripe time when Howie wants to make a move to do that.
Yeah, and one of the things, are you surprised at the timing of this? The fact that, hey, we're going to, on a random Monday, let's pull the trigger on this trade. Like,
you
so
know what?
does it tell you who initiated this deal by the timing of it?
Yeah, I feel like this has got to be initiated by the Saints, don't you think? I mean, they're giving up a future first. They've got a quarterback-less team. They may be interested. Well, I can't imagine that they're making this deal to get themselves the best pass rusher or best left tackle. They have a pretty good offensive line. They already have a pretty good pass rush. So maybe unless they've got other plans that I can't tell right now, and it's possible that they do, I feel like they make this move because they want to give themselves a chance to get themselves a quarterback. And in that, normally, when you do that, you want to get into the top 5. But because there may not be a bunch of quarterbacks going in the top 5 or 10, you can probably sit there at 15 and maybe if you need the ammunition, you can throw in a pick and move up to 10 or 11, whatever it is. But it's not like you have to get into the top 3 to get the quarterback this year.
Well, that's a good point because the Saints had 18. Now they have 2 picks, 16 and 19. Now they can use the 2 picks if there's a quarterback they like, and maybe that's the thing. Is there a guy that they definitively have their eye on? Now, they just signed Jameis Winston and brought him back. So does this deal say to you that the Saints are targeting a quarterback, or are they just looking to add some of the pieces that they have lost over the course of the last couple of years? I mean, this is a team that has kind of declined a little bit. Yes, Breeze left, but their roster has gotten a little older.
Seems like a lot to give up just to target maybe like the best cornerback or safety. Now, I won't put anything past the Saints. They're an aggressive team. They once traded back into the
you got 2 Howie
first
Roseman
round.
type of GMs dealing with each other here.
Listen, I think the Saints and Eagles are so similar in their philosophy, not just their cap management, how they build their teams from the inside out, their emphasis on quarterback and gadget quarterback even. They've each been trying to win a Super Bowl for a long time and both have won. They both have some playoff disappointments in the last 5 or 6 years too. I mean, the Eagles and the Saints are like twin sisters to me in a sense. I mean, remember how bad the Saints were before they finally got Breeze in the Super Bowl? I mean, they were the Aints, and then that changed the culture of their organization. So they're very similar teams, and they're aggressive minded.
Yeah. Oh, well, and I mean, it's so like the fact that the Eagles make the move and then they have 15 and 18 because I was looking at some mock draft stuff today, and it's like basis of a lot of our conversation is what's going on in some of these areas. I saw a deal where the Eagles were moving up in the mock draft into the top 10 to go get Jordan Davis. So I feel like with 2 picks now, moving up something that would be even more possible.
Well, listen, what I can tell you is, and what we've reported is,
we lost Geoff here for a second. We'll see if we can't get him back here on the Sports Bash Live because he was talking about something that those guys, I think he was getting ready to talk about Sauce Gardner, a guy that the Eagles are set to bring in for a visit, I think, on April the 30th, that they're going to bring in Sauce Gardner, the cornerback from Cincinnati, for a visit. And I think Mosher's bringing up an interesting point that if you now have 2 first-round picks, are you looking to try to do something because you moved out of the 3rd pick, and now you're trying to do something where you would get Sauce Gardner, a guy that you probably have to move up to go get. So that is something that definitely – man, there are so many, and this is the benefit of their spring Geoff. All right, so it said something about that you guys report. I think you were talking about Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, he's scheduled to visit the Eagles. I mean, yeah, he's coming in here to Philly. He's visiting the Eagles on April 10th. Right, this is a guy who is playing a premier position, considered, if not the best overall talent in the draft, one of the best, and is probably going to go somewhere. I'd shocked if he'd make it past 6, so he's probably going to go top 5, top 6. You never know. He could slide down, but he ain't making it out of the top 10. The Eagles were big fans of Patrick Surtain last year. They like J.C. Horn as well. Both those guys were gone. They wound up trading up for Devontae Smith. So cornerback is a position that they absolutely need. Even their best one, Darius Slay, he's 31 years old. The other, after Darius Slay, they don't really have anybody on the outside, other than you can't count really Avonte Maddox because he's a nickel corner. They have no youth, no building block there. Zach McPherson was a 4th-round pick who didn't play much. So that's a position that you think that they'd be ripe to look at if they were going to trade up.
Yeah. What does your instincts tell you about drafting a corner in the first round, though, with this crew?
With which crew? With these cornerbacks?
Howie Roseman, this front office, I guess, is what how I should have framed it.
Well, like I said, they were very, very high last year on Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn. And it was my understanding that they were considering the trade up for Surtain along with Devontae Smith, whichever one they could wind up getting. Now, Surtain went off the board there to Denver, and then they went and got Devontae Smith. So I think they recognize that they really need an elite cornerback, especially with what they're doing now.
So you think they would be inclined to take a corner in the first round? Because there's a lot of positions we just kind of scoff at.
Yeah, no, I mean, they did it they would have done it last year.
Okay.
So I don't have any doubts or disbeliefs that they would do it unless they just didn't like Sauce Gardner that much, which I can't tell you that they do or they don't. But I mean, again, they're bringing him in here. So they've already, talked to him a bunch of times in the pre-draft process. I'd be hard pressed to think that they see something in him that's not so good, because everybody who I've spoke to says he's far and away the best cornerback prospect in the draft.
Okay, now that the dust has settled a little bit, Geoff Mosher, Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBird.com. Are you guys going to do an emergency pod, by the way, here?
You know what? You just broke the news to me as I came on with you, so I have to call Adam. We might have to. That is a fair point.
Right. I would imagine that this is something that could be news-breaking worthy. Do you like the deal for Roseman? Do you like that? Do you like what they gave up and what they got back in return? Like on the surface, do you say, you know what, smart move?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to evaluate right now with the second. It seems like it makes sense because I never.
Well, I guess because the fan will say, like, oh, they had 3 picks. They had a chance to get 3 players, and now that's out the window. I guess theoretically they could make another deal, but.
Boy, I'll tell you what's really out the window. Me and Adam had a podcast budgeted next week. I have every team that's had 3 first-round picks or more in the last, 10 to 15 years and the outcomes. So now that's completely moot. But I support the pick and I understand it because people would have found out, the teams that have had 3 or more first-round picks have not done really well. I think we've even talked about this on your show here. That now, granted, sometimes you get a team that's picking number 1 overall and then had 2 late first rounds and they hit on the number 1, but then missed on the 2 late. It's obviously where you're picking as much as, who you're picking. But I would say that I think it makes sense given the history there that the Eagles try to have fewer picks and maybe move up if they can to get into the elite zone.
All right, well, just to let you people know out there, Mosher and I had a lot of other things planned to talk about today. We didn't get to them. Tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow. Well,
and Wednesday.
You'll have more of thoughts, incandescent thoughts that are in your mind after now getting a chance to think about this, as opposed to me saying, hey, Moshe, welcome to the show. And by the way, this trade just happened.
Yeah, I know, right? Unbelievable.
Hey, that happens.
I will sleep on this, and I will come in and talk to you tomorrow, and I will probably feel the exact same way.
Well, I on the surface, they had 3 picks. They now only have 2. The one thing I could say is I'm not surprised. We had talked about this for a while, that there's a good possibility that they will try to add another pick in next year's draft. They did it sooner than later. Because if it happens on draft day, you're probably more in the mix because you're in that mindset of something can happen. It's the fact that they did it almost a month out.
Right.
So I wonder the fact that they did it a month out, if there's something else coming. That's my thought.
There you go. We can talk about that
Sleep on that. All right. Football at 4, Geoff Mosher. Thanks, pal.
Thank you.
All right. That is breaking news here on the Sports Bash. And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, brought to you by Prop Swap. That's why you have to listen every single day. That is big, major breaking news right there. Brought to you by Prop Swap, America's sports betting marketplace. Sell your sports bets and take your profit. Find out how. Go to PropSwap.com and download the Prop Swap app today. So there you go. That's the news. The Eagles have made a major trade. They have traded. Let me get the actual trade. Here we go. The Eagles trade picks 16 and 19 to New Orleans, along with a 6th-rounder. And in return, Philadelphia gets the Saints pick number 18, pick 101 in the 3rd round, pick 237 of the 7th round, a 1st-round pick next year, and a 2024 2nd-round pick.